The New South Wales construction industry is collapsing. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. Got my stein of coffee helping me start the morning, and I thought we would have a look at this article that's just come out from the ABC. It's to do with construction companies in New South Wales collapsing, and it's having I'd say there's a few other interesting flow-on effects of this collapse. So let's have a look, guys. Construction companies in New South Wales collapsing at record rate as building slowdown bites. Now, this cannot be a surprise to anyone at all who's been following my channel or who's working in the game. There are a lot of, well, there's a complete lack of confidence in the construction sector, in the apartment sector in particular. We've got the triangle of fail, as I call it, in New South Wales, where you've got a whole series of apartments with issues, rapid construction inflated from, I'd even say from 2000 onward, peaking in 16, and it's just nuts. It is just nuts. So understandably it's slowing down, and this will, well, we can see the signs of it right here in this image. You know, partly completed site. There you go. You know, existing pre-sales in place. How would you feel? would that be, you know, has anyone jumped in to get that EOI? You know, finished in Jan, but wow. New figures show the housing slowdown is biting New South Wales hard, with the number of construction companies going under last quarter hitting its highest level in almost 4 years. The statistics provided by ASIC show 169 New South Wales-based construction companies went into administration, receivership, or a court-ordered shutdown in the June quarter, the highest number since the September quarter in 2015. Over the whole 2018-19 financial year, 556 construction companies went under, 101 more than the previous financial year. So that's, what, 25, almost 20% increase, you'd say? It's not a good sign, is it? Experts say it is a reflection of the state's slowing apartment and housing market, with about 50,000 less apartments being constructed compared to the same time 2 years ago, and a marked slowdown in housing construction. Well, yes, and part of the reason for that is, and I will bring up my reference that I have right here, and this shows you, this is, you've got 3 lines here. You've got the black line, which is the percentage of new housing approved investment as a share of residential building approvals. Okay, so this can show you over 90% in 14, 15 to 16 here was foreign investment. And the blue part of the bar is approved investment in new housing, so new build, and red was in established housing. So the fact that it's slowing down, look at that drastic drop. Look at that drop. I mean, the fact that it's slowing down is just no one's surprise. Well, it shouldn't be. Maybe it's surprising the RBA. They don't understand why the economy is slowing down, as I discussed yesterday. But you can just see that will overheat a market, and there'll be a cooling off after it. So, an increasing number of half-finished apartment projects are dotting the Sydney landscape, with property development giant Raylan Group, which collapsed in July owing $500 million to creditors, the most high-profile example. I mean, look at that. If you're buying that, you're buying everyone else's problems who's built that project. You don't know if, you know, the company was in trouble. You don't know if there was some sabotage work by disgruntled workers on there, or they were cutting corners to save money, or they were looking the other way during the inspection process because they ran out of cash. Or they were taking the money, the developer or the builder was taking the money they were receiving on this job to pay people on other jobs. So there's a huge element of risk with coming into a project like that. Sometimes it's worse buying something like this than it is starting from scratch, because you've got all those unknowns. I mean, how you need, you know, are they going to go? Let me know, guys, if you're in the game. You know, would you go and X-ray check all these slabs to make sure the right Rio's been put in? What confidence will people have now? I'm just thinking of all these things to worry about. So, Association of Independent Insolvency Practitioners President Stephen Hathaway said there was no doubt the industry was stressed. Well, yes, in recession. If you're having, 100 shut down, that's, yeah. Mr. Hathaway, who also runs his own liquidation firm, said small construction companies had been hit hardest. These days, it's subcontractors or subcontractor on subcontractor. He said, oh, the subbies are fighting each other for the money. Oh. And the general feel I'm getting from talking to my fellow liquidators is that in the building industry, subbies just slow down paying the little ones. Construction companies. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Thumbs up if you've been in that situation personally, guys. What's the longest? Let me know in the comments. What is the longest you've had to wait on payment from someone? Oh. And I'm not counting defaults. Defaults don't count, okay? No. I'm talking how long to you eventually got paid. I think 90 days. This is for a fine, company. I know there was one that Phoenix came up again. We did work for them. And I started charging them all these late fees and they got shitty at me. So let me know. I think I'm sitting 90, maybe 120 days. I think there's one company that was like a tiny little thing, but we'll say minimum, 10 grand up or maybe. But yeah, 90 days. So it's a spiral. And it's always a bit of a scurry at the end to make sure you get paid before it all falls over. Yes. Yes, it does. With ASIC. While ASIC declined to comment on the building data, it said the most common reason companies went into administration was for inadequate cash flow or poor financial control. Experts have also pointed to the trend of Phoenix activity in New South Wales, where a new company is created to continue the business of a company deliberately liquidated to avoid paying its debts, taxes, or creditors. That really, it doesn't feel like an ethical process, does it? You'd think if a company is liquidated, they would be able to have... I thought they had... if someone has been proven to be trading while insolvent and liquidates the company and shifts everything to another company, I was under the impression that if you can prove that they were trading while insolvent, all the actions from that point forward can be reversed. Maybe that's just too complicated. Or maybe, it's all fantasy. I know every time I've tried to contact ASIC for something, chase up money or to get people reported, it's a complete waste of time. But they're on you to pay your bills. They are on you to pay your bills. The New South Wales government said it worked with various agencies to combat phoenixing behaviour and was committed to strengthening the building sector through a number of reforms. Well, see, this is the thing. I don't think we need to depend on the government to do this. I think people need to have more access to this information from ASIC. Should be freely available to the public. All information on every company. You shouldn't have to do a pay a fee to do it. And there needs to be a way to correlate Phoenix activity of people. If you are in a company, okay, so you're going to a company, you can do a search on it, and you can see, oh, these people have been in 15 companies that are Phoenixed, or this company's owned these many companies that are Phoenixed. It's big data. Why can't we connect the data and connect the dots and see? I know, okay, it's sounding a bit social credit, but this is business information. I do ASIC checks on people that are dodgy. You can find out a lot. Let me know what you think about that suggestion, guys. Despite making up 6% of New South Wales gross domestic product, the state's construction industry is overrepresented in the number of failed businesses, making up 20.6% of all companies calling in the administrators over the 2018-2019 financial year. We'll see here at 6% of New South Wales gross domestic product. But I'll bring up a quote from everyone's favourite entrepreneur, Matt Burry, where he's talking in his LinkedIn piece about Australian economy on House of Cards. In 2016, 67% of Australia's GDP came from the cities of Sydney and Melbourne. And there's a small area from, I'm just paraphrasing here, the small area from Sydney's CBD to Macquarie Park is in the middle of an apartment building frenzy, contributing alone 24% of the country's entire GDP growth for 2016. So while they're saying in this article that it's only 6%, back then it was 24% of the entire GDP of the country. And, we'll bring up I'll just bring up this this reference again here, guys, and you can see it kind of correlates here, doesn't it? Doesn't it? All that foreign investment going into houses. Now, there's a few other things to consider with this. Stamp duty. Oh, stamp duty. A viewer sent me this article from Macro Business, and I'll link to it if you want to go through the whole thing. But the New South Wales Office of State Revenue has released stamp duty data to August, which reveals a massive 1.67 billion, 25% decline over the past year, and a 2.54 billion, 34% decline since stamp duty receipts peaked in September 2017. So September 2017, what can we see on this chart? Okay, I know they're not the same scale, guys, and it's not overlaid. And I'll be honest, I'm not that organized. I'm never going to be. It's a bit rough and ready here. You know, I'll produce these things quick, have a break, get back to work. So, but you can see, maybe, is correlation causation? No. It must be something else. There mustn't be a reason for all this foreign investment, and then the sharp decline in the foreign investment, and sharp decline in state stamp duty revenue. But, like all things, nothing's original or unique. This has happened before. But Victoria kind of, beat New South Wales. Good old Victoria. Housing fall blows 5.2 billion hole in the Victorian budget. Now, I discussed, and I will bring up this video here. I discussed this in May of this year, where, the Melbourne housing crash affected the budget for the entire state of Victoria because of the decline in stamp duty. And I go through this article what their responses were. So, if you haven't watched it, guys, have a look. But 5.2 billion, and take a guess what the Labor government in Victoria did to respond to this. What did Andrews do? Leave your guesses in the comments below. But you can see why. In some ways, there's a conflict of interest at the state level. The politicians want to keep bringing people in because they want that sweet, sweet stamp duty money to keep buying votes. But, it increases the cost of the housing market. And, we will bring some more data here. Do I have this example? Hang on. Banks not to blame. This is the predicted increase in property prices. So if we look here, this is, and I'm just going to, I have to look over here so I can see it on the screen, but this was from April of this year, and 2019 expected predictions in property price increases. So while everyone is screaming boom, boom, boom times, the media screaming boom times, encouraging everyone to get back into the market, you've got predictions here where most of them are in decline. And it feels like we have a dead cat bounce. We've got stamp duty declining. We've got foreign investment plunging. And we have a construction industry which is in recession, in a lot of trouble. The key points: New South Wales has been hit by a construction slowdown, resulting in stressed companies going under at a record rate. President of an association representing insolvency firm has described the trend as a spiral. Experts have raised concerns about the rise of phoenixing, where a company is liquidated to avoid paying its debts. But, if your company goes under, you can't be the director of another company again, can you? Anymore? I thought you couldn't. Well, I know if I went bankrupt, I couldn't be an architect. I wouldn't be able to, I'd lose my registration. I don't know how long it would last for. Maybe there has to be a similar thing. Maybe there is, and people are finding ways around it, putting it all in the wife's name. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. How have you dealt with this? Are you in this situation? Are you based in New South Wales copying it from some of these guys? Have you had to, go on site to collect your tools and it's all been locked? Share your stories with us. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Take care.